Sunday. We had a probably right at freezing temperatures, cloudy. Went out in the morning. And we're going to start off with Doug, crossed over on the extreme north end of the property.
As Duane was saying, I was crossing over the north end of the property. I let everybody go ahead of time, and I left at about 7 or so, and kind of went on the north end. And while I was strolling through there and stopping and just taking my time, went up on Todd's stand, and which is located, Duane, what would you...
It's just extreme north end of the cut over 80. That's good.
And anyways, at about 8 o'clock, I decided to go down on the stand, and which I did, and I just took a few steps, like 5 steps, and I was more or less heading east. And on the north side, it would be northeast, here was a good sized deer, and I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but it looked at me, and by the time I had the gun on my shoulder and up, I was going to take a look to see if it had horns. It turned completely back, went on the ridge, and that's all that I saw.
So then we continue the story. Doug sees the deer take off, disappears, knows it's a good-sized deer, and we toss it over to Todd.
Yeah, I had just watched a little deer come by the same place they had come by Saturday morning, moving northward off that big middle stand, and waited about 20 minutes hoping a large deer might follow it. And sure enough, to the north, I caught a glimpse of a deer and didn't have a shot, but saw it stopped behind some trees, and I really couldn't make anything out other than I knew it was there. And then I noticed the fellows on the county land just across from me were sighting in on this deer, and I was kind of astounded that they'd have the audacity to take a shot at a deer clearly on our property, and clearly with me being there hunting. And sure enough, they took a shot, and upcoming from the north toward me, southward, was a great big buck, and I got a glimpse of the rack and said, well, I gotta shoot. And I took 5 shots and unloaded my gun. A couple shots I felt were pretty good shots, but he never did go down. He stopped just beyond me, and as I fumbled to get my next clip in, I lost sight of him, and sure enough, I heard some crunching, and I looked, and I saw the little deer go down the east side of the blue line path there, the east side of the swamp. I don't know where the big deer went. It turns out, we found out later, it appears the big deer came down the east side of the swamp also, and headed southward down over the ridge, heading to Johnny in the hole. And that's where Johnny took over.
Okay. Thank you. Meanwhile, also, while Todd is emptying his gun, I was at the river straight east of him taking a crap. Certainly enjoyed the entertainment. But the first to see actually that big old buck head south on the blue line is Jerry, so I toss it back to him, and he'll tell, in fact, what happened earlier that morning.
I'm not really with these guys. No, sorry. Yeah, Joshua and I went on to John's new stand, which is out on Pollocks Point, and we were fortunate enough to right away see what we figured was a doe and a yearling. Let go a shot just over their heads to try to get them to turn back, but to no avail. A little while later, then we heard a few shots here and there, and then we did note all of a sudden Todd, what we felt was Todd or Doug, unloading up north, and so I told Joshua at the time we need to pay attention to the north area. Actually, it would have been a little more northwest, and take a look in that area because something could be coming. And sure enough, out of the woods here comes this thing, looked like the size of a cow, and running at about 40 knots through the woods. Was able to see it, had horns. I told Joshua, my God, the thing's got horns, it's big. And I was able to get one shot off but it disappeared over the hill. From what I then heard, I'm sure Mr. Godava will fill us in detail, but from my standpoint at that time, then I heard shots from his area. Short, brief moment then later, I saw a flag disappearing at its point, so I was able to try one more last time, let loose at the flag, and then from there just prayed that it would be the deer and be it fallen down via my shot or John's shot. Other than that, we waited a while. John stayed on his stand. I then was reloading my rifle and talking with Joshua quietly and putting the clips and everything back in the rifle, and all of a sudden I said, "Holy shit, there's another deer!" And it was a small doe, looked like it was shootable, so it kind of bounded off a little bit, and I took one poke at it in hopes that we could actually get it, but I did see the flag after that, so we just kind of blew it off as Jerry just shot in the middle of the woods and didn't get a deer. But anyways, we had mega excitement this morning. Joshua experienced the sight of deer, many deer, as well as the killing and the gutting out of the deer, which I probably shouldn't have mentioned. That'll be John's job here soon.
Okay, so from Jerry taking a single shot, the deer went up and over the ridge, headed right for Johnny, and so I'll turn it over to John, who can bring us up to speed with that. You've got to sit down for this one.
Oh, yeah. Well, after Jerry took the shot, I was facing south, and naturally I turned, and it was only a matter of a second, and over the ridge came this buck. And he was going hell-bent for election. I mean, he was really smoking. And he came down the hill, and I thought, God, it was a beautiful shot. I was admiring the buck, along he was trying to take a shot too. And my best shot would have been right at him. And I took a crack at him, and he didn't flinch. He dove to my right, heading towards Sievert's Point. I took another crack. I saw the flag go down, but then he kept on going, so I took, I think, one or two more, and that was it. I just stood there, and I was waiting for the thrashing of the water or something, but I didn't hear anything, so I said, well, he didn't drop, so I'm not going to monkey with him. I'm just going to forget him, which I did. So, and then I think shortly after, Jerry took a single shot. And so then I waited for a while, and I thought, well, I better go over and see what Jerry's got, or what, because he shot earlier in the morning. So I walked over to Jerry, and we discussed the buck that had run by, and I told him what had happened. And at this time, he said he could see Duane out in the swamp, out in the beaver swamp out there. So I walked out towards Duane, towards the shot where Jerry thought he might have shot at this doe. I got out there and we walked around, and no sign of anything there. So then Jerry met us. So Duane and I and Jerry and Joshua, we headed towards Sievert's Point along the edge of the south part of the Beaver Ridge there. So we got into the lowland, just basically east of my stand where the deer had come down, and we looked around, and I pointed out to Duane and the boys there that which way the deer was heading, and we didn't walk more than 10, 15 yards, and whoops, here's blood, and a little bit further, and Duane said, yeah, I can see it also. So the deer was hit pretty hard, and it was another 20 yards or so, and there was this buck. And I can honestly say it was a thrill to see him. It was probably one of the largest deer that I ever saw. I mean, his rack is 8 points, but he was a big deer. And it was a team effort. Started up when Duane had to take a dump, and that started the whole thing. And from then on, it was Todd and Jerry and myself, and got her down.
Beautiful deer.
Yeah.
Again, that's Sunday of 1998, first weekend of hunting. That's November 8th, 1998.